Summer officially arrived on Sunday at 11:32 p.m. Eastern Time. The summer solstice can occur on June 20th, 21st, or on rare occasions the 22nd. Over the next few decades, it'll be split about evenly between the 20th and the 21st. Now, on the summer solstice, the sun's direct rays get as far north as at any time of the year, about 23.5 degrees north of the equator over the Tropic of Cancer. At that latitude, the midday sun is right overhead, and north of there, it's as far above the horizon as it ever gets. Of course, at 11:32 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, midday was on the other side of the world. Here's where the sun was directly overhead at that time, in the waters east of Taiwan. About 12 hours later, during the first full day of summer in the U.S., the sun was directly overhead at a point in the Gulf of Mexico, south of Key West, Florida, which is the southernmost city in the lower 48. Now, nearly all of Pennsylvania sits between about 39.7 degrees latitude on the south, part of the Mason-Dixon line, and 42 degrees on the north. So the state is north of the Tropic of Cancer by between about 16 and 18.5 degrees latitude. Thus, the closest the sun can get to being right overhead is between about 16 and 18.5 degrees. Looked at another way, the highest the sun can get above the horizon in the state, which is called the maximum altitude, is between 71.5 and 74 degrees, 90 minus those numbers. We can use this idea to figure out the maximum altitude on any day of the year. You just need to know your latitude and the latitude at which the sun is directly overhead on that day. We'll call those L and D. Just compute the angle between those two latitudes and subtract it from 90 to get the sun's maximum altitude. As an example, let's consider State College on the equinoxes, the first days of spring and fall. State College is at 40.8 degrees latitude north, and on the equinoxes, the sun is overhead at the equator, 0 degrees. The angle between those two latitudes is 40.8. You subtract that from 90. We'll do the math for you here on Weather World. And there is your maximum altitude of the sun in State College on the equinoxes, 49.2 degrees. The word solstice comes from Latin and translates to sun standing still. To see how that applies, let's track the maximum altitude of the sun over the course of a year. I've done that here for State College. Notice that in the days around the summer solstice, there's very little change in the maximum altitude. The difference between June 1st and June 20th is only a degree or two, a change you really wouldn't notice, giving the impression that the midday sun is standing still in the sky. It's a much different story around the equinoxes. Look near the first day of spring in March. The angle of the midday sun is changing much faster from day to day. In fact, the sun is about 8 degrees higher in the sky at midday on March 20th than on March 1st, a difference you definitely could notice. One consequence of the high sun angle this time of year is long daylights, and indeed nearly all of Pennsylvania has more than 15 hours of daylight right now. How much of that will be sunny this weekend? Find out in the extended forecast next.